So, Knausgaard Volume 3 is finally here. An opportunity for another Knaus face. Not a very good one, I don't think. For those of you who don't already know, Karl Ove Knausgaard is something of a literary sensation back in his native Norway after publishing a gigantic 6-volume biographical novel series called My Struggle. There's a huge drive to make him a sensation in the UK as well, and whether that's working or not is up for debate. But for those of us who are hooked, and there are some pretty big names who say that they are, people like Zadie Smith saying that she needs the next volume like crack. I need the next volume like crack, and I'll fight you for it, Zadie. Luckily, it arrived fairly recently. And here it is. Boyhood Island is the title that it's been given in the UK. Each volume has been given a separate title in the UK, which I'm not a massive fan of, but this does at least make it clear what it's about. This is about his boyhood, and in the 1970s, he and his family, his mother, his father, and his brother, moved to a housing estate on an island called Suerland. I don't know how good my pronunciation is, but he says that he struggled with the pronunciation of words himself as a child, so I'm not going to give myself too much of a hard time about it. So, 1970s, and looking at that period when you are beginning to turn into the person that you're going to be. And a really fascinating period for him because, of course, living in a new place, making new friends, and living in quite a sort of remote area, and an isolated area, meaning that it's sort of very, very focused energy with that group of friends, and of course very focused energy on the family. There's that weird thing about that period in your life, I think, when you're going through adolescence, which is that you are so focused on your own life and not at all really focused on what your parents are doing. They're leading very separate lives. And so we see Karl Ove making friends at school, and these are the kind of friends that he will carry into the later life, into his adulthood. And of course a real focus on his relationship with his brother, which is really fascinating. He is... he's so fond of his brother, but him being a little bit older than him, his brother being a little bit older than him, he's sort of struggling to keep up with him and his friends. And just that little separation in age means that his brother is doing very, very different things to him, going through very, very different part of adolescence. Another interesting thing is his relationship with his mother, who seems to be so lovely and so giving her children what they need, although both of his parents working very hard and not at home for big stretches of this book. And then, of course, we get to his father. And whilst this book may seem to be quite a sort of quiet, nostalgic look at childhood, although with the various ups and downs that come with adolescence, there is this very, very dark malevolence which just lies underneath, which is to do with the relationship with his father, because his father is frankly a tyrant, even quietly so. And there is something very terrifying about Karl Ove leading his life and just waiting for the next explosion from his father, the next huge row, the next huge argument, the next physical confrontation. And it means that it's always there, it's ever present, and you get a real sense from reading this book about how terrifying that sort of domestic violence, if you like, the tyrannical father figure can be for a young child like Karl Ove, who happens to also be sort of quite thin and effeminate and all the rest of it, all these things that his father doesn't want him to be. So it's really, really fascinating, particularly from that point of view. And for those who have read the first volume, A Death in the Family, which is about the death of his father, it's really interesting to see those two books together. This is very much a middle volume. We're at 3 now of 6, and not a good place to start. Not only because it's right in the middle of the story, if you like, but also because I think stylistically it doesn't grab you in the same way as the other books have. I'm already hooked, so I'm desperate for it. But I think if you started here, you might wonder what all the fuss was about. I know some people have even started with the first book and wonder what all the fuss is about, but we don't need to worry about that. So there you go. There's lots of things in there about childhood, about adolescence, about friendship, about game playing, about family relationships. Fascinating stuff. And of course, leaving me now desperate for Volume 4. I know I'm going to have to wait a whole year probably for that to arrive, but I understand that Volume 5 and apparently Volume 6 is an absolute knockout, so I cannot wait. I'm hooked. If you sound like you might be at all interested in that, as I say, start with Volume 1. But this is Volume 3, available now from Harvel Secker. Next week, I don't know what I'll be talking about. You will just have to tune in and find out. But thank you for listening to this. Take care.